Hello, Kitchen Stitchers. It's February 28th. It's Friday. It's not our normal Tuesday because we've been not doing this quite as frequently, and I had too much stuff building up. I'm like, we've got to do this now. The weekend's going to be busy, and next week's going to be busy, and it's just busy. So sorry for the delay, and we're welcoming you into our home, into our kitchen on Friday night. And we already ate.
Yes.
We had fish tonight since it's Friday and it's Lent, and we just decided to do fish at Big Boys around here. So
Not that we have to have fish, we just decided to have fish.
it was yummy. So David, what are you talking about? We had a bunch of people asking about how he makes his chicken so tender. So he thought he would respond a little bit, although he swears he said this before and he doesn't want to bore you. But those of you who didn't get a response, he responded to those who asked. And so I thought, well, maybe it's just good to repeat if we've said it before.
Okay, well, yeah, I wasn't going to talk about chicken noodle soup, but okay, we can do this too.
And jump into chicken noodle soup then.
Okay, so,
He made a wonderful chicken noodle soup last week,
yes,
and it was so yummy. Anyway,
actually it was this week.
we're avoiding coronavirus by eating our share of homemade chicken noodle soup.
Homemade penicillin.
Yes.
Okay, chicken. For one thing, when I make chicken, I tend to not use a breast because breasts will dry out very easily. And anybody who's ever broiled a chicken breast.
Although when he did make chicken breasts, they were still very tender.
So when, probably if you're just gonna use chicken for something, best way to do it, best way to cook it would be to broil it. I'll put it in a maybe a 350 or 400 degree oven. I'll lay it out on a what do you call it, ceramic pan.
Clay, in a clay pan.
In a clay pan, and season it. Always season, and put a little olive oil, drizzle a little olive oil on top of it, and just
When you say season, what do you mean?
salt, pepper, anything you like to make chicken taste like something.
We get good stuff. It's called good expletive with an S.
Good S blank blank blank.
Well, no, only two blanks.
Oh,
Good SH
blank blank. Yeah.
from Jungle Gems, and it's good.
It's pretty good.
They have
I
different
like it.
flavors of good stuff.
It's got some spices in it, and it's got a little bit of salt in it, and it's got there's a sweet to it too. I think there's probably a little brown sugar or something in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like the sweet.
I tend
It's not too sweet.
I'll put a little more salt on it because I like a bigger contrast between salt and sweet. So anyway, especially if you're doing chicken breast, not so necessary if you're doing like thighs, which is what I cook most of the time. If you're cooking chicken breasts, put them in a pan that's not a whole lot bigger than what the breast area of the breast take up, and put a little water in the bottom of the pan. And when they cook, you're not so much steaming them as you're giving them their moisture back, because they will dry out, and if there's moisture there, it'll help. They'll kind of draw the moisture back into it. And again, this is where your cooking thermometer comes in. Use your thermometer to make sure to see that it's done, and as soon as it's done, take it out.
So what does done mean on a thermometer?
Chicken, if you're cooking chicken on the bone, you want it to get probably around 150. Off the bone, it doesn't have to be quite as hot. Best way to do it is to take a piece and cut it open and make sure that it's white all the way through, or the same color all the way through, and there's no red or pink. You don't want red or pink. Mm-hmm. If you're cooking thighs and they're on the bone, a lot of times, even chicken legs, the meat down close to the bone will have a reddish hue to it, whether it's done or overdone or whatever, but it'll still have that color. So other than that,
So he made this terrific chicken noodle soup. Anybody from Ohio who's ever had Bob Evans chicken and noodles, it was way better than that. Really, seriously, it was really, really good.
there's a secret to it.
And the broth was a little it wasn't as thick as Bob Evans, but it was not thin like just regular broth.
First thing was to cut up the vegetables that go in it. Vegetables being not really vegetables, but I cut up about a half an onion, very, very, very small dice.
So it would dissolve.
So
when it
yeah,
goes in.
on all everything that I put into the soup, vegetable wise, was very small cut.
And we don't like carrots, so he didn't
No
put carrots,
carrots.
but you can put carrots in it.
I don't like carrots.
I like celery, he doesn't, so he
And
cut it
even-
really small too, so it disappeared.
And even if you cut carrots up really, really small, they're still going to be there. But the other stuff, when it cooks, when the broth starts going, it just kind of dissolves into the broth, and you have a real tough time finding it. So yeah, about a half an onion. I got a good sized leek from the grocery store.
A leek being like a really big green onion kind of thing.
They're kind of ugly and they're dirty. So
But they're
you gotta-
tasty. Oh,
you
you
gotta
had
wash
to,
'em.
yeah, there's a lot of, you peeled it apart and there was mud on the
There's
inside.
there's dirt in between the leaves and stuff. But you don't use all the leaves. You just use most of the white part and a little bit, tiny bit of the green part. Sliced up very, very, very thin. And I only used one leek for that. And I chopped up some green onions, which is like a miniature leek, kind of, and sliced them really, really thin. And then here's
And I have a problem with onions. My body doesn't react well to onions, but I didn't have any problem with that. So
So-
they would cook down really well.
poof in the broth. And so here's the secret to making this stuff taste really good is you drop a half a stick of butter in your pot.
Is that what you did?
And you melt that down until it starts to sizzle and all the water comes out of the butter, and then you put your vegetable matter in and start sautéing that down until it starts getting kind of transparent. Then there's
Everything's better with butter.
a clove of garlic smashed up. I think we talked a long time ago about how to smash garlic. An eighth of a teaspoon of turmeric, however you want to say it. And once that got going, about an eighth of a cup of flour. And we talked a week or so ago about roux. This is what you're doing, is making a roux. You're dropping your flour into the butter, the fat.
So
And-
an eighth of a cup would be about a tablespoon and a half of flour.
yeah,
Like there are 3 tablespoons in a quarter cup.
you maybe need to. Yeah, you may need to use. I think maybe it might have been a quarter cup.
Okay.
Probably a quarter cup. You make sure that's mixed up really well, and it starts to cook the flour so that it doesn't taste like flour. And as soon as that gets all absorbed into the butter and the vegetables and everything, that's when you put in 2 boxes, the boxes that you get at the store, of chicken, not broth, but stock. 2 boxes of chicken stock.
Stock, not broth.
Stock, not broth.
Okay.
Then either a chicken bouillon cube or a teaspoon of the stuff called Better Than Bouillon, which is what I use.
More yummy chicken flavor.
After that, you start bringing that up to a boil, and you take your chicken that you had in the oven roasting in the clay pan, and you take it out and take 2 forks and shred it. You don't put that into the broth yet. You get your noodles, and I don't use just like spaghetti noodles. I like to. We get a lot of stuff from Amish country around here, and I get a bag of Amish.
There's thin egg noodles.
Yeah, they're kind of like short fettuccine. Drop in handful and a half.
Yeah, they're like the size of what's in Campbell's chicken noodle soup. The thin, the not too thick.
But they taste better.
They're really, yeah, they're really good.
Bring that up to a boil. Every time you put stuff in the pot, it's going to drop the temperature down. So bring it back up to a boil. And what this is also doing is it's turning your real watery broth or the stock, and it's making that thicker. It's getting a nice sheen to it and a nice texture to it. Then when the noodles are all done, drop your chicken in, stir it around, let the chicken just get hot, and then you're ready to serve. Chicken noodles.
I'll tell you, it smelled wonderful in here for 2 days, but the noodles absorb a lot of the liquid, so when you have to reheat it the next day, you need to throw in some more water.
You can use an ice cream scooper to get it out.
Yeah, but it's so good, so good. Yeah, really good. So, yes, we have been flu-free. Thank you for, my daughter used to call chicken noodle soup get well soup. So he makes the best get well soup. So it's good.
Oh, and season. Don't forget to season. Always season salt, pepper, whatever you need to put in there to make it taste how you want it to taste.
That's yummy.
So that's all I had.
Okay.
Hopefully I spoke loud enough.
Yes, he's been trying to speak up, so hopefully you heard that. So on to stitchy stuff.
On to stitchy stuff.
On to stitchy stuff.
I'm going to go sit and look at my
Okay.
phone for a while.
Hard to believe it's been a year since we got launched into you and me doing this, and I
Really?
appreciate, yeah.
It's been a year.
Because it was at the conference, when I was at the conference last year, that
Oh,
all
yeah.
this came together,
Yeah.
so to speak.
So to speak.
So it's been fun, and I'll have to say he gets really shy about all this stuff, and he's not sure. Oh, I don't have anything to talk about. So usually I can figure out something yummy that he cooked during the week. And next time I'm going to have him talk about the pork tenderloin that he made. That was
Oh.
really yummy.
And that wasn't really mine. I got that from a friend of ours who's also a very good chef.
Who stole it kind of from a recipe of yours. So you guys,
Yeah, kinda.
we keep telling that. So it's our pastor's wife, and she's phenomenal. And we keep we'll go back and forth for dinner, and she's like, the next time we do this, we have to have a cook-off. And her husband, our pastor, and I are like, yeah, you need to have a cook-off. We're the beneficiaries of that. Of course, the diet starts this weekend, so
Yeah, well, there's
I
the end of that.
gotta move some of these pounds off that I keep gaining. This is terrible. So anyway, I've got a lot of stuff, and I'm not even quite sure where to begin. Although the last time I talked to you, I mentioned the black hole that consumed the little nutcracker guy that I was working on, and I was working on. I decided to make this design, this Easter pattern, and I loved this because it's got a bunch of different stitches, but also it has some heart hanger kind of things in here where you have to do the scary thing of cutting threads and pulling them out. And this is really cool at the bottom. So I had this thread to work with on this little round spool, and it was like the Dickens escaping. I would put it down and the black hole would keep trying to consume it. So it fell, and I kept looking for it, and finally I couldn't find it. I'm tearing apart the chair that I sit in and looking between the chair and where I hold my stitchy stuff and on the ground, and finally it had rolled next to my nutcracker. I swear I looked on the ground all over for this thing, and it was like under the table next to the chair on the other side. And so here's what this little nutcracker guy looks like. Now, I bought at Christmas a little half a nut. That's why his mouth is open, so I'm supposed to put the nut there. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, because it kind of obscures his stuff. So I think I'm not going to do the nut. But there's the little nutcracker, and there's the back part of the little nutcracker. I think he looks just so cute. And I didn't finish him up completely because I was going to put some of the stuffed shells in it, so he will stand a little bit better, because he's little. There. So this was, I think I used a yarn that was a little too thick, and it hurt my fingers doing that. So I would have to find a thinner yarn. But I think he looks absolutely adorable. So at some point I'll make Clara, because she has a pattern for Clara as well. So I thought that turned out pretty well. But I was so happy. I was so happy that I found it. I thought I had... Oh, yes. So here is that Easter stitch, Easter egg hunt sampler by Thea Dueck, D-U-E-C-K. And the cool thing is it came with all of the threads that went with it. And most of these were silk threads, so I'll show that again. So it was just a lot of fun to do the little, it didn't take a lot of time. This was, I think, a dinky dye or Threadworks, so it was just the dye color of the thread. So you didn't even have to do anything in terms of switching out colors. And so there's a couple little like embroidery stitches like the Lazy Daisy, but not a lot of that. And then some beading, so you see the beading there, and with the daffodils, and some more eggs. And I think we do this stitch a lot. And then the bunny with the little flowers, and then the pulled threads here. Happy Easter. The kiddos on their Easter egg hunt with the bunny in the middle, and then the heart hanger at the end. And those stitches, those heart hanger stitches at the end were really, they were new to me. So those were fun to figure out, and I think they kind of look like flowers. So that worked out really well, and there's some beads in the middle of that too. So I have to figure out how to get somebody to help me make a pull for that, but that was fun. I've had that one forever, and so I finally had the time to do that. So that was a lot of fun. Also, I finished up I've got to make this into a frame. So that was I finally got the sweet pea that enabled me to finish up the thistles. So this was Milk Thistle, the Garden Labyrinth, Carol Manning Designs. So that's what it looks like with all completed, and I ended up having to buy the sweet pea. Now sweet pea I think was the finish for, I think it was for these, so in here. And I ended up finding those on eBay. So I found sweet pea on eBay. Nobody had sweet pea. So now I have a lot of sweet pea. If anybody needs sweet pea, you are welcome to contact me because I can give it to you. I have a bunch of it. So that was a fun design. And then I wanted to do, after finishing those two up, I wanted to do something quick. So I did January Snows by Bent Creek. So there's my little January Snows. He's so cute with the little snaps. Those snaps are fun. And then I had found a little kit on one of those Facebook groups that have the discounted kits that people have and they haven't used. So I love Shepherd Bush. So I got the Shepherd Bush kit, and it had the threads with it. So that's the best when they have those silk threads. And so I finished Softly Spring Comes, and we are all waiting for spring to come. Yay. So there's my spring one. That turned out really well, and that had some fun stitching in it too, so that was fun to finish up. And I do like the softness of those silk threads. Shepherd's Bush is fun. They're always fun. And then I had joined the stitch along for the Shadowbox for Nancy Waller and Faithwurks Stitches, and I just had to show you, this is how this stuff all came. It came wrapped up like a Christmas gift. So I haven't unwrapped the box itself. I just thought it was absolutely adorable. And she even had all of the stuff in it wrapped. And now this looks a mess because I stitched it already. But see the little cording? They were all tied together with that pretty little cord. She just does things nicely. And I'll have to say the stitch along was a lot of fun. So this is the first one of the stitch along. We're waiting, it's coming out of Just Cross Stitch magazine. And so she has the Stitch Along group on Facebook. And so she encourages you to be creative with it. And now I'm thinking I probably want to wait for some of the other creative people out there to do their thing, because it's so fun to see what people come up with. So what I did was I added the little design in here, and I put the date 2020 as the number for the door. That was about as creative, and of course put PK on the bottom, as that I got. Someone else, and so I'm gonna have to do this, put a little bead, a gold bead in here so it looked like a knob. I thought that was brilliant. Another woman moved these down here, which I probably would have done that if I saw that, just because I feel like even though there's a line here, it felt like it was, I couldn't really see the porch that it was sitting on. And then another woman stitched like lines for the bricks. But all this stuff comes, and it's so fun to stitch and see what people do. There's beads through here, and some beads on the tree. And Nancy just gives everything. So it's kind of fun. And these things just fit in really nicely in that box, and she pre-cut the mat board, so that was delightful. So that was the big thing. I'm now going to get started with the Alice in Wonderland stitch along from Satsuma Street. So I let her ship me the fabric. This is ice blue casual linen, 28 count. And here are all the fun colors. I love Satsuma Street because of all the bright colors that she uses. So those are all the bright colors for Alice in Wonderland stitch along. And the border for that, the first step of the stitch along just came out, so I will probably get that started this weekend. I'm also working, so I'm trying to, part of my goal this year is to take some of my existing stuff that I have that I've set aside and finish up some of those. So this, oh, I'm sorry, not supposed to show you the pattern itself, but this I've had for a while. Now this summer I get to see my great nephew for the first time. He's 3 and his name is Max. And this lady had these gnome letters, and that's an M for Max. So I'm gonna stitch this up and let it be a pillow. So you can see what I'm working on with it in here. So but a couple of years ago, right after he was born, now he's gonna be 4 in September, I had gotten the brown part stitched and then stopped. So then I've been working on this to do. And there's a lot of color shaded variations with the color, and it's just, I think it's gonna look really great. So I'll get that stitched into a pillow for that cute little guy. They live in Switzerland. So my niece married this great guy. He's actually out of Austria, which is fun. Love Germany and Austria. And they met in New York, where my niece was living at the time, and they moved to Switzerland. And so he's 3, and I get to see him on WhatsApp and little videos, and he's absolutely adorable, but I've never actually gotten to be with him face to face. So this summer my brother-in-law is renting a house in Nantucket, and so we're gonna go up and converge on the family and get to spend a week with them right around somewhere in the summer, so that'll be a lot of fun. What else did I have here? Oh, the other couple things that I finished up, and this is the last bit, is I'm finishing this one up. It's been there for a while, but I'm waiting. I had to order there's a charm in here, and there's some beads from these folks, so this Irish Blessing will be a lot of fun. It's by the Sweetheart Tree again, and so they have some very, very cute things. And I had a while ago, like a really while ago, this stitch store has gone out of business, and I had found this that I had purchased from them. So we're talking, wow, 15 years ago probably that this went out of business. And you can see it was called Twisted Threads. She moved away, and she's the one who does the tall guys. So that was Twisted Threads where I bought this. So I did finish this up. I haven't done the border yet. So, and it's got a Irish bead that goes in the top of that. And that's the same kind of design as the other Sweetheart Tree. But I'm just going to show you a portion of this, this pattern with the border. See, if you look at that, that one's going to be a tough one, because the way those slanted lines go, they don't really pay attention to, like this one ends right in the middle of the square. So that's going to be hard to follow. So I'm half debating. I started it and then realized I didn't know what I was doing. So you can see the little bit that I started, and it's not quite right. So I'm gonna have to rip it out. So half of me wonders, maybe the square is just sufficient. I don't know. We'll see if I have the patience to go back to that. So that's where that is. And then I also did, and I thought I had her around here. I finished up, I haven't actually finished her, but I did stitch the latest Just Nan Crystal Snow Lady Mouse. So she's around here somewhere. But of course, I don't see her now for you. And then the other thing I had on my plate to do was this one. this one I just recently got. It says, do what you love what you do. Which, love that phrase. So I haven't looked into this to see if it's a complete stitch or if you stitch it on black and just stitch in the white. I don't know. So I'll let you know when I decide to attempt that one. The gentleman who sent me the shepherd's bush, it came from overseas, as I recall. I just don't remember where he sent it from. I think it might have been Philippines. He said these 2 patterns with them. So there's Christmas Balls 1 and Christmas Balls 2. If anybody wants these, just in the comments put Christmas Balls 1 or Christmas Balls 2, and I'll put your name down, and then we can draw for that the next time. So that was a lot of stuff. Oh, and this is the latest color and cotton. It's Bellflower. That's 32 count. It's kind of a purple. I like the purple. Oh, well, there's 2 of them in here. Bellflower, Lugana, and Belfast. 32 count. So that was color and cotton. So I think that's it. I'm gonna make sure I didn't have that crystal mouse in here somewhere to show you. I know I'm gonna go off. So one last little comment. If you follow me on Facebook at all, you saw that. I was grabbing one last skein that I didn't have for the Satsuma Street. So I had run up really quick to Michael's on my way home from work, and I approached the area where the embroidery floss was, and there was a young girl, I want to say maybe a junior in high school, standing there with 2 DMC kits in her hand and kind of looking with bewilderment at them and at the floss. And I walked up and I started looking for the floss, and she said, "Do you cross stitch?" And of course my head goes, do I cross stitch? You bet I cross stitch. Oh boy, I get to talk to somebody young about cross stitching. And so we started up a conversation. Her mom came over, and I was encouraging her and telling her how exciting it was to see somebody younger getting into this. I started really younger than she was, and really loved it. And it's something you will either love or not like. But so she asked my opinion on which kit to get, and I gave her why I would choose one over the other. And then I talked to her about starting your threads and how you end your threads. And she'd done some investigation, I think, on YouTube. So I told her about FlossTube, and then I told her about our favorite local needle shop, Keepsakes, here, and that she had to go because usually in an afternoon somebody's sitting around a table there stitching, and all the ladies there would just love her. So if she had any questions or wanted to know how to do something or just stitch with people, that would be a great place to go. So I didn't get her name because I didn't want to feel pushy. But it was so exciting to see that. I know you all feel the same way. I remember, oh gosh, it was probably a couple years ago. I had walked into the needle shop and I was about to go upstairs, and I heard this lady behind me who was looking at some things on right inside the front door go, "Oh, look, there's someone younger." And I looked around to see who the younger was, and she said me, and I'm like, oh no. So we exchanged ages, and I was actually older than she was, so that was funny. But I think we all have that opinion that if we can get somebody younger involved and into this, it's just a love that we have to pass that on. So I really hope she shows up to the needle shop and sees what a great community this is and has some fun stitching with folks. So anyway, that's all the news from the past month. I can't think of anything else to share with you. We're thanking you for your patience. And if you have anything you would love for David to talk about, he's always open to ideas because he always feels like, oh, I have nothing to share. And we all know he does. So it's very yummy. So happy almost March. And we'll see you sometime in March. And if I don't talk to you before St. Patrick's Day, have a happy St. Patrick's Day all around the world on March 17th. We're all Irish. Take care. Bye.